This shoe from Vivo Barefoot costs over 200 USD, and boy does it look great. But after a year of wear, the main question is it worth the hefty price tag? Now, there are quite a few versions of this Vivo Barefoot Gobi sneaker. I have the premium leather version here, which I believe costs around 210 USD. So firstly, what is the design philosophy from Vivo Barefoot here? Well, I think they've got two things in mind. First being a sneaker that looks great. I think there is no denying here about how good looking this shoe is. I think she's a beauty. My wife even commented on these shoes, which she's never done on barefoot shoes, about how good these look. Let me know if you disagree or agree in the comments below, but I think this is a great looking barefoot shoe. The second is around the sustainability. Now, Vivo Barefoot mentioned that this shoe is 98% made from natural materials, and they've done a few different things in terms of the sole and the materials to make that from natural materials. That is very new and innovative. And even though I do love this shoe, it's not all plain sailing. There is one major gripe I have with the shoe, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video. Now, when you first get your hands on this shoe, you actually notice, one, how good it looks, even better, I reckon, than the photos, but actually how premium that upper material feels. I'll say it's a premium leather, but it is a vegan leather that they're using here, and it feels really nice, way more premium than any other vegan leathers that I've tried on other shoes. And it's overlaid with this suede material here. Now, Vivo Barefoot like to use a lot of acronyms and fancy words for the materials they're using, but it's a plant-based leather here, and it feels really good, really premium, really nice. The suede is made from a lyrocell. It is a bit harder and tougher, but that leather is just so nice and soft in the hand. Moving on to around the heel collar, you have a very wide opening for the foot here compared to other barefoot shoes. And you have a lot of padding, which I really like in this shoe around the heel collar and at the back. There's a good amount of padding there. The insole is pretty stock standard for Vivo Barefoot shoes. It's a cork, recycled, natural insole. No issues there. I can see a lot of people taking the sole out. Now inside, there are some other nice features of this shoe. It's just a nice place to put your foot inside. You have all this leather. In terms of the upper, there is a lot going on here. First off, it's a puncture resistant upper. I think a lot of barefoot shoes are. Second, it's about a 4mm sole, but you do get a lot of sensory and proprioception from the ground here compared to other 4mm sole shoes that I've tried. Third, I really like the way that they've made that sole wrap around the toe box a bit more, and you can tell that it's stitched on for added durability. So on the material of this sole, they use a natural rubber, is a natural fiber welding, whatever that means. Just know it is all completely natural, and that is apparently very hard to do on outsoles, which usually use rubber. Last thing on the features of the shoe is around the laces. They are really long, which is strange, but that's not a huge deal. There is an organic cotton on these laces. They're wide, they're really nice in the hands. I like them a lot, and they've done a good job with the laces there. Let's move on to the performance of this shoe. I've mainly been using this for walking with any errands, if I have to go to the restaurant, coffee places. If I'm out all day in a shoe, I'm not going to typically use this. I use them for more smart casual use, into the office if I need to, and I think they do a really good job here. It is hard to find a barefoot shoe that fits that use case specifically, and that's why I use this shoe specifically for that. In terms of the barefoot experience, I think they've done really well here. First being zero drop. Yes, it is zero drop. It's really hard to show on camera, but it does sort of contour or concave inwards, and it isn't completely even on the insole. And I think this just goes on to the next point about how flexible that sole is. It's again hard to show on camera, but it's really, really flexible compared to other barefoot shoes, even in both directions. It's very impressive on how flexible that is, and that adds to the overall proprioception, that sensory feedback that you're getting from the ground. Thirdly, width in the toe box. Vivo Barefoot have done a very good job here. Usually when you want to make a good looking barefoot shoe, they sacrifice that width in the toe box, but they haven't done that in this case. There's plenty of toe splay, much more than I would get in shoes like the Primus Asana, which we'll get onto later. So when I've been out and about using these, barefoot benefits really good. Secondly is the grip has been really good. Whatever they're doing for this wrapper has been outstanding. No issues there, even in the rain. Not a problem at all. Let's move on to the fit and sizing of this shoe. Now, bear in mind, I haven't been using these for anything active. Take that with a caveat. And there are a few different iterations of this shoe where there have been some mixed feedback on the fit and sizing. For the premium leather version, I can say this is pretty true to size. Additionally, there is a lot of volume in this shoe. It isn't as sleek as some of the other barefoot shoes from Vivo Barefoot. That opening to put your foot into the shoe is very wide, and there's a lot of width in that toe box, which is very nice. That being said, because of that width and that extra volume, the lockdown isn't the most secure, and there's often a lot of wiggle room between the heel collar and your ankle. Not a huge deal because I'm not walking around in the shoe all day or using them for anything active, but something to bear in mind. At the same time, it's extremely comfortable to wear with that width in the toe box and that leather interior. It's just a nice place to put your foot into and nothing digs into you. Let's move on to durability. So this is where it's been all plain sailing, really good so far, but that's where it changes. So first off, the good stuff, all round, in most cases, there's no fraying, there's no sole ripping off. Everything's been really good, and it doesn't look like the stitching is going to come undone. Additionally, the outsole has hardly worn in the past year. I think this has a long way to go, and it's done really well there. But this is where I have a big gripe with the shoe, and that's around the durability on the upper materials. There is quite a lot of staining that you do get from water or other liquids on these shoes, which are actually really hard to clean. I got these soaked once in the rain, and the suede material and the leather went really hard, and I thought I'd actually ruined the shoe. Luckily, they recovered with a few marks on the shoe, but the suede is still really rough and firm, and it's not as nice a touch as it used to be. But since that bad experience, and since that knowledge in my head that if I go out to anywhere that's gonna be dirty and I could get stuff onto this upper, I just have this paranoia and this fear that I'm gonna ruin this shoe, which is a big problem. I'm only taking them to places where I know I'm not gonna get them ruined, like the office. Anywhere that has a bit of dirt, if I'm out on the street for a longer period of time, I'm staying well clear with these shoes. Let's quickly move on to a few alternatives for this shoe. And the first one is a shoe I just did a review on, so go check that out. But is a shoe from Xero, and that is the Glen. Now this shoe is a lot cheaper, so it's a much more budget orientated shoe, but I think it's a very good looking shoe. Not as good looking as this shoe that performs very well, except if using it in the wet. Check out the review to know what I'm talking about there. And looks very decent, can use it for very similar use cases in terms of that smart casual use in the office, and even dress down as a sneaker if you'd like. So that's the budget option that I'd go check out. The other one is the Primus Asana. I've also done a review on that, so go check that out. But this is a more athletic orientated shoe, but you can use it for a lot of the same things in terms of that sneaker everyday use. I think it looks really good. Other people don't think it looks as good, but that's just a personal thing. It's really comfortable. The width isn't as wide as the Gobi Sneaker, just a different sort of vibe overall compared to the Gobi Sneaker, and isn't actually going to be as expensive as the Gobi Sneaker because you're not using all of those new innovative materials. So are these actually worth the price? And it's a hard question to answer. I think it depends on the way you plan to use this shoe. I think if you're like me and you need a shoe for more smart casual, more formal use, something that's going to look great because you can't find anything else that does, that you're not going to use a crazy amount every day, bang up, get dirty, I think this will be a really good shoe and is definitely worth the 210 USD. But if you're going to be taking this out every day, getting it dirty, I don't think it's worth that money. I think your money is going to go down the drain pretty quick. You're going to be disappointed in terms of how that upper holds up. They're going to get too dirty and you're going to feel like you wasted your money. So if you're thinking of getting this shoe, I've got a few different options for you. First off, there'll be a code down below that helps you get a discount of some sort. I'm still working to get a code from Vivo Barefoot, but I put in something below so at least you get a discount. Second will be to go to revivo.com. Now this is where Vivo Barefoot take shoes like this, they refurbish them and resell them at a very good price. And often the quality there has been really good. I checked for this shoe and the shoe was going for about 115 USD. But those are my thoughts on the Vivo Barefoot Gobi Sneaker premium leather. Jeez, that's a mouthful. Let me know in the comments below what your best looking barefoot shoe is. Make sure you subscribe for more buying advice and barefoot shoe and wide toe box shoe reviews. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and I'll catch you in the next one.